Hey, it's Jeff Richard, also known as Father Time, here at Amsterdam, Holland, on our way to Belgium, flying beta version 15902 for the TFDi MD-11. We are GE Engines passenger version. I do have to remind you, I am, as a member of the quality assurance team, I operate under the non-disclosure agreement. This video is being produced with the permission of TFDi management for the express purpose of orienting the CE1000 guys as different revisions come out. It's not to be released outside of the CE1000. The placeholder cabin is still in there. We've got the new cabin coming in very soon, which is unbelievable. It's beautiful. The freighter version cabin has been completed and released. We are flying the GE passenger version, cold dark airplane. Let's go inside and do an entire pre-flight cold dark airplane. And we're going to use the FSI panel profile to have some more immersion with comms. Okay, here we are, cockpit orientation. We're going to do this the whole thing like you haven't flown it, because believe it or not, some of you have not flown it. Even the CE1000 guys just haven't gotten around to it. These circuit breakers are not modeled at the moment, but some of them will be when the advanced simulation package comes out. Nice detail. They also have a series of emergencies that you'll be able to program, malfunctions, manually or random. That's down the road. That'll be after release. We check the circuit breakers in, we come back, and we also check the 3 oxygen bottles in the green. 1, 2, and the third one is down behind the captain's seat over here. 3. This is the second observer's oxygen panel. They would have sat up here with a folding chair that would have come down behind the captain. They look over the captain's shoulder, sitting up high, probably the most uncomfortable seat in the airplane. These are the gear pins in case you get stuck out, flashlight, pressure breathing equipment to fight a fire, make sure the seal is not broken. This is the ELT, cockpit door. You want to make sure that the ropes are in there and stowed. You want to make sure the windows are closed and locked. Ropes, windows, closed and locked. You make sure you have the appropriate manuals on board. This is the first observer's audio panel. The seat would swivel forward. This is a comm panel for the first observer, and their oxygen. This is a first aid kit. Continuing with the cockpit safety inspection, which is done prior to bringing any power on the aircraft. By the way, your alternate gear extension handle is not modeled. That's coming soon. That'll be right down here. It's a gravity fall. You pull on the handle and it falls down by gravity. Just a little aside, all the trims neutral. We got the radar is off. Remember, we're about to put power on the airplane. Fuel levers are cut off, start switches are in, throttles are idle, reverse levers are down, spoiler handles down, flaps up, and gear handles down to the overhead. Wipers are off, fuel dump manifold are off, no lights, and covered. With that, we can turn on the battery. External power available means it meets the volts and freaks requirements, which happen to be 400 and 115. 115 volts, 400 plus or minus. So you can turn that on without actually checking it. I'm going to turn on the cargo. On the IRSs, when that happens, you get the cargo test with some associated messages. Here we go. Cargo test, associated messages, fire, master warning light, and you've had the messages for cargo fire. And that's that. The IRSs are starting their alignment. You can come down to the box. You can go to reference, aircraft status. Again, guys, I'll have this all timestamped for you. Database for today's June 6th with changeover on the 12th. If you had a secondary database, maintenance loads it in here right about now, so that if you get stuck out, you have access to it. You could just click on it and bring it up. But right now, we're just going to go flight plan and get these IRSs aligning. That's all you have to do with the box for the moment. With that, what we can do is go to the EFB. import the flight plan. We're going to go to options first. There's my sim brief username. If you're going to go fly on VATSIM or IVAO or Pilot Edge with controllers, you'd want to put in your Hoppy login code, which you get if it's free, and click that in here and save it. I've got my username in here. Weight units, imperial, temperature units. Allow hardware over force, yes. Automatic seatbelt behavior, no. Extended range. Big deal here. There's only 5 of them that were ever made, these ERs, but I'm going to disable it. The big change you'll notice, which caught me, was when you do the fuel system test, you get a 52.4 reading for non-extended range. For extended range, it's 63 even. Systems, I'm going to go with round dial, not tape. Disable the control wheel steering, which is in the aileron mode. It will hold the bank if flying autopilot off. Set a bank, it will hold it. I find it's a little too stiff when I do that. This is if you wanted to go with bat wings. I'm going to go with the crosshairs. I'm going to disable the inhibit tire failure because I'd like to know if I blow tires. A lot of differential braking takes place. You'll heat those bad boys up. And this is how I set everything up. Caution and warning system. I've enabled all the call outs and voice and tone for altitude alert and altitude alert conditions on capture or deviation. Altitude alert exclusion, none. I want all of it. Performance, I'm not going to enable. This improves your performance in the roll mode. I'm not going to enable the high efficiency flat pylon and deflected ailerons. Just leave that there. That's the options. With that, you can go to dispatch, send the flight plan to FMC. This is just, as I mentioned, Amsterdam to Brussels. So it's just going to be 1 point. Does not load stars and SIDS. And there you go. Payload is set as well. Now I'm going to go to the overhead. I'm going to do this checklist right here, which is on the need to know. By now, you guys all know this. It should be committed to memory. It's the pre-flight checklist. It's done by one pilot. The other one usually does the walk around. The other one does a pre-flight. If you have multiple first officers, the first officers will come in. One will do the walk around. Another one will do the pre-flight, and another one load the box. Captain comes in, and we cross-check everything using the normal checklist together. But that's the flow with the blue arrows. This is a checklist. It's in beta mode. Fighting Raven is presently modifying it to get it to the release mode, as well as the normal procedures checklist. This will be run together. Anyway, that's what I'll be using. Start in the upper left. We've got the cargo test. You don't have to do a test. It's already been done. Irises are lining. Takes 10 minutes. Present, not modeled yet, but press and hold. Needle goes into the green band. Generator bus fault. Reset lights are out. Galley bus lights are out. If you have puppies in the back, we usually go to high. And we go to 12 o'clock here normally on the cargo temps. These usually go off on our checklist with American Airlines after engine shutdown. FADAC, which is like EEC on other aircraft, which controls the engine thrust limits and temperatures, and N1 Zeepers are guarded and no lights. Engine ignition is off. Wipers are off. Fuel dump emergency switch is off. Fire handles are all in the normal position. I just do a hydraulic pressure test. You press it. If you want to watch it on the schematic, you can. I'm just going to let it run around there, do its thing. It'll tell us if they've found a problem. I'm going to turn on the emergency power. Now, APU, people are boarding the airplane. I'm going to get it started. Do a fire test. The 4 lights and the handles. 4 messages on the
engine 1 fire.
EAD. Master warning light.
2 fire.
Fire handle lights.
Engine 3
fire lights in the fuel control switches.
Engine
And you
1
press the
fire.
master warning and silence the bell. Make sure it works. With that, you can start it. I wouldn't start using the APU panel. I would always start using the electrical panel. Has extra safety measures. Also, when you turn the bleed off, it'll shut down the APU automatically. Here's something really cool. This is that's the electrical system. This is smoke elimination. That's not the cool part. I'll show you that in a minute. It's a very, very long checklist. Think of Swiss Air 111. God bless them. You go through us. It takes half an hour to run that smoke elimination checklist to isolate where the smoke is coming from. APU starting, so it's flashing. When it comes on steady, we'll be able to turn on the bleed. This is what's new. This is the part I said is cool. Watch this. So we have 174 passengers plus 8 flight attendants, 182. If you set in 182 here in the pax load, what that does is meters the amount of bleed air that comes off the engine. So if you have 300 people, you need more bleed air to keep the cabin cool. If you only had if you had an empty airplane, maybe you put in 0, and it will save as much bleed air as possible, which of course decreases fuel consumption. There's external power. APU is available. As soon as you do that, you can get the APU bleed on, and at that point, ground would be on, screaming to pull off the APU, external power. So let them do that. I'm going to park the brakes and remove the chocks. You can open and close doors here. And back to the overhead. Trim air switch, that's what meters hot air in. Make sure there's no light on there. Econ. Econ is for, it saves you about 1% fuel burn. If we used to turn that off to get cigarette smoke out of the airplane, if you wanted to clear out smoke and get better airflow, you could turn the Econ off. Avionics fan, no light is on. Trim air mask switch. If the passenger mask dropped, you'd see an on light in there. Make sure that's covered with no light. All the rest of the lights are out under the APU bleed air. Fuel system test. We are in a non-ER, so we're going to get 52.4. I'm going to go to fuel panel for you on the system display control panel. You can see right now it's reading our release fuel of 28.9. But let's head back. We're going to press this. We're going to get 18880, then 10 fives. 1880, then 10 fives. If we go down to here, we get 52.4 for a total. If it was an ER, if you'd selected ER, you get 63 even. Let's talk about the fuel system, the way they fuel it. They fuel it evenly across the mains, but the center tank is larger, as you can see by the schematic. So it would evenly, as soon as the 1 and 3 are filled, center fills up. As soon as that's filled, upper aux, lower aux, then trim in that order. Trim tank. It's there to control CG, keep you in a proper CG for your phase of flight, but also to cycle fuel. If you get within 3 degrees of freezing, you'll see fuel tank low, and you'll start seeing that fuel be cycled around out of the trim tank to keep the fuel circulating, so you don't get any frozen fuel, clog up the fuel filters. The fuel will transfer forward at 19,750 feet, might be 19,500, but I think we have it programmed here to all be transferred forward prior to the top of descent. Just a little fun facts for the fuel system. All right, let's go back up to the overhead. Dump switch manifold switches are closed. I've got hyper scroll on my mouse here, so I'm going to go this. Hey, by the way, I've been complaining to the guys, the developers, hey, let's get our panels to be able to work, like our Logitech panels, and I've got the multi-panel and radio panel. And then somebody told me, download SPAD.next, SPAD.next, and it will activate it. And I now have radios and the ability to manipulate the panel. Plus, I've got a hyper scroll wheel. So I'm like living large here. So that's a fuel panel test. Got to make sure these are all in automatic. Hydraulics, electric, and fuel. Down here on the lighting panel, you're going to arm the emergency lights. You can test it. No smoking is all the way on. Seatbelts off. You want the nav lights on anytime you have power in the aircraft. You have 3 lights on, 3 lights off, even those are off lights. 3 lights on, 3 lights off. Up here, evac switch. If you wanted to turn on the evac, you click this up. Off here, silence the horn while you run the evacuation checklist by pulling here. Lights keep going in the back, but that'll silence the horn in the cockpit. This is the AFS panel, auto flight system panel. Its flap limit is auto, elevator feel is auto, yaw damper for Dutch roll, so the airplane doesn't do a motion like that. That's for yaw dampers, stabilizes the Dutch roll. LSAS, when they went to stretch the DC-10 and make an MD-11, they needed a longitudinal stability augmentation system. Very famous part of the MD-11 because it creates kind of a stiffness in the elevator axis, but the lights are out there. Make sure that we're not in manual and that we're the full outflow valve is full open. You go down to the panel, and go to air. Outflow valve is full open. Now, guys, I know you guys have all had this. Like I said, I'll timestamp it, but some of us have not even flown this thing yet. Engine ice, you turn it on right after engine start. You start number 3. If you're 10 degrees Celsius in visible moisture or taxiways have contamination, you turn it on after engine start. We are 10 degrees, but we are not in icing conditions, so that'll stay off after engine start. You turn on the windshield anti-ice, but you don't touch the defog. It's always on, so you don't want the off light on. So that's the configuration there. Annunciator bright, dim switch, annunciator light.
Overspeed.
You wouldn't believe what it took to get this to work properly.
Overspeed.
A lot of work, a lot of man hours in there for this.
Overspeed.
Make sure if there's any lights burnt out,
Overspeed.
you would definitely want to call maintenance. Don't change the bulb yourself. Cargo door test, you can press that, let it run, it'll tell you if there's a problem. Fuel use, reset, I reset it every flight. Before you do the engine max pointer reset, I come down here and go to engine, make sure there's no exceedances, the red boxes. And with that, I feel comfortable doing engine max pointer reset. Clear shield control panel. Once again, I'll use my hyper scroll here. Oh, let's do this. Look at that. Make me happy. Yeah. Not as impressive as I thought it was going to be. Come in here. We want to make sure, all you're really supposed to check here is this is your EIS. So this whole thing is your GCP, Glare Shield Control Panel. This is your Flight Control Panel. And this is your EIS. Captain's EIS, FO's EIS, Flight Control Panel, whole thing, Glare Shield Control Panel. Set in the window, some airlines are different. Some set V2 plus 10. American Airlines, we set 250 or clean min maneuver, velocity clean, which sometimes is as high as 280 at the max weights. You could set, if you had a speed constraint of 220 until 6,000, you could set that in, for example, or that probably is going to be on the SID. You could just go to profile, it'll fly that, keep 250 in there. Runway heading, we're going to take off on 18 left. Look at that hyper scroll, huh? I get excited about these things. 185 is runway heading, auto on the bank. And we want to make sure, and we're going to be 6,000. Little note here on this departure out of here. At 2,000, we have to contact departure automatically. 3,000 is transition level, go to 1013. And we'll be leveling off at 6 as well. So it's kind of a busy little departure. But you want to make sure your IAS, heading, feet, not meters, vertical speed, not flight path angle. Heading, not track, IAS, not Mach, feet, not meters, and vertical speed, not flight path angle. AFS panel override switch is pushed up. You do not want it down, that overrides. You guessed it, AFS panel. If you don't know, if the airplane's not doing what you want it to do, can't figure out what's wrong, sometimes you can click off the AFS panel and just hand fly it. It basically turns off the autopilot and a lot of the automation, the LSAS, and everything on the AFS panel, and you can hand fly it a lot better. Okay, that's that. Coming down here, as we mentioned, I come off to the left. It's not modeled yet. But the oxygen, we check the oxygen. These are the transfer lights, EIS source. You got captain's, FO, and the auxiliary. These are the transfer lights. If you don't like what you got, you can get the other side. The static air switches are normal. You want to come and make sure that the PFDs. Let's talk about the CRTs. There's 6 identical CRTs. This is captain's PFD CRT, captain's navigation CRT. This is the EAD. This is the SD CRT. This is the FO's nav CRT and the FO's PFD CRT. 3 identical MCDUs, multi-control display units. Uh, this is the captain's FMS MCDU and the FO's FMS MCDU, and this is the maintenance MCDU. Although you could use it however you want. You could use down here for ACARs, do the pre-flight, load everything, run your ACARs out of here. Although that can be run out of here too. But typically the pilot flying will have flight plan, a takeoff page to take off. The other guy will have the flight plan, the pilot monitoring. And down here you use this for ACARs, but it has a maintenance function on it as well. You can see the Enroute. If you were flying a VATSIM or IVAO or Pilot Edge, you could get your oceanic clearance here, and your ATIS. There's a lot of things you can do here as long as you sign in with your HOPI code. No unwanted flags in Captain's PFD or the nav display. Select whatever you want for displays. I go traffic data in airport. That's my technique. The weather radar, test it. You turn it on, run a test, not model at the moment. The gear handle is down, 4 green, I'm sorry. Center gear, normal and up switch, the light is out. We can go TO now, it's not going to hurt anything. Let's go here. TO on the auto brakes, anti-skid light is off. Aux pump will get for pushback, parking brake pressure is adequate. Let's check the takeoff warning.
Stabilizer. Full lap. Flat. Brakes.
2 and 3 together.
Stabilizer. Full lap. Flat. Brakes.
And that's the takeoff warning check. And with spoiler levers down. Breakout bar, if you wanted max thrust or somebody was playing around the cockpit, that'd be forward. Make sure it's pulled aft. To be honest, if I saw it forward, I'd be looking for exceedances, and somebody's been playing in the cockpit. But pull that breakout bar full aft. Reversers are down. Throttle's idle. That's your go-round button for go-round. Naturally, for takeoff, we arm auto flight. When you get above 70%, you'll get toga power for takeoff. I would not arm this toes on the runway, because if you go over 70% with this arm while you're making a turn, or the aircraft in the simulator is not moving, you get toga power and your flight is essentially over. We're going to go down to dial flap. First part of the first click on the handle is slats extend. Second click is whatever you have set in your dial flap for takeoff. You always have 15 set here after takeoff, but I'm going to do a 15 flaps takeoff, so it just so happens I'll have 15 set there. Your third click goes to 28, and your fourth click 35, fifth click 50, and so on. Parking brakes are set, start switches are in, fuel flow controls are cut off. I like to turn up the CRT lighting. The reason I do that, I find in the sim, it's a little hard to see sometimes, so I turn up the 6 CRTs. This is the system display control panel. If you see a light illuminated, that means it's a message associated with that system up here. But we always check when we get here, status page. And you can see ignition not armed. That'll help you catch some of the early items. I'm going to go ahead and get the GSX going here.
This parking is too small for your
aircraft. And I'm going to request boarding is completed. I'll prepare for pushback. And I'm going to get the seatbelt sign on. Be going here shortly. Continuing with the pre-flight, I'm going to set the frequencies, which I love because now I can do it this way. I've got a delivery.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
121.98. I'm using my Logitech panels for the first time. 121.98. Put that over there. That's going to be delivery. Ground is 121.805. 121.805. And on the right side, COM2, we're going to have 21.5 on one side, and then 23.45 is the FSI panel. 2020 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. ATIS Freak, no matter where you are in the world, that's what they use for their ATIS. So that'll come on once we activate the lesson plan.
Bypass pin inserted.
There we go. And that didn't come out because it's got an extra. There we go. 23.45. So radios are set. Transponder. We'll get that in a minute. We'll get our clearance. Make sure you turn it on over here when the time comes, as well as going to TARA. Radar is off. These switches, there's VHF2, that's there. VHF3, this is new, is dedicated to ACARs, so you'll see ACARs here. But if you wanted to use it as a fully functional radio, you could just click on the transfer switch and you get yourself a fully functional tunable VHF radio in case you spilled coffee on the other one. You can set up your initiation, your pre-flight.
Locking gear.
Pre-flight, set in your data, init data, and you'll be able to get your departure clearance, ATIS, receive messages, free texted ATC if you're CPDLC. Once again, that's if you're on VATSIM, IVAO, Pilot Edge, etc. And aileron rudder trim are all 0. Looks like they're ready for pushback. Let's go to the box, get that loaded, and we'll get out of here. So let's see. I'm going to go to my sim brief, my electronic flight plan, dispatch, send to flight plan set, send the load, payload set. I'll get rid of this for now, guys. There we go. That's Amsterdam to Brussels, and the alternate is EBOS. This is flight number. It's KLM flight 61 Alpha. Believe it or not. So we'll put that in here, and it's going to be 13,000 feet for our little hop over to Brussels. Temperature, here's an interesting thing. 2 times your altitude is 26, right? 2 times 13 is 26. Make that a negative. And then always add 15, so that's minus 26 plus 15 is minus 11. Then you go to your flight plan, and you see what the temperature deviation is, plus 1. So instead of minus 11, that's a minus 10. So if it's 30,000 feet, it'd be 2 times 30 is minus 60 plus 15, minus 45 in your temperature deep. That's just a little fun fact. And our wind component's minus 19, minus 18. Here we go. Cost index, 193. On to page 2. There's our fuel. 0 fuel weight. I'm just taking you along for the ride. 0 fuel weight is 370.1. It's good. You can just put in the takeoff and 0 fuel weight CG. Taxi fuel is supposed to be 2. I'd like to put in reserve plus alternate here for this one. Reserve is 6.2, alternate 6.8. That's 13, about 13.1 total. Make our holding fuel more accurate when we get there, if we get there. Reserve, final, and we'll go to flight plan before we do takeoff page. Actually, I didn't do the 2000 taxi. There we go. Okay, we've got the SID and departure, just the 1 point in between. Quebec 2 Echo, Woody 4 Bravo. SID, 18 left. Quebec 2 Echo with no transition. And what was it? Woody 2 Bravo to 25 left. Star. I always put the runway in first. I'm not going to put a transition in there. Woody 4 Bravo. No transition. That's it. At that point, of course, you check the database and you run through the flight plan together, walk through all the way, make sure everything's in there that's supposed to be in there. Go to Prague, check the Prague against the flight plan. I do this even the sim guys just because, you know, definitely it catches a lot of things for you. And I just go all the way to the end of the flight plan, or you can come up here and look at the total distance, 129, and that has 136. Make sure it's reasonable. That's all. Now I'm going to go to takeoff. Let's go to the EFB, the wonderful EFB that we have. Got a couple of things I want to cover with you here. Okay, payload is all set. Perf. Let's put the ICO in. It's EHAM. I'm not going to set up the Navigraph, guys. I've got my own. 18 left. 18 left. 11.5. Let's take a look here. And I know on this departure, they give you, I've done it before in the Airbus and the Super 80 as part of the FSI panel. We're here. They like to give you an Echo 5 departure. And in the lesson plan for SF5P, they said be prepared. So how would you do that? Let me see. Well, this is a 11,000 foot runway. It looks like Echo 5. You can get the exact numbers off your GPS. We'll say that's 2,000 feet down the runway. So instead of being 11,005, let's just do 9,000, right? Because we know if we can go at Echo 5, we can do the full length. 9,000, and then I import the weather. So if you were taxiing out and they said, hey, can you take, and I'm going to do get the takeoff weight. I'm going to go flaps specific. I'm going to do 15, and packs on, and get takeoff weight, and that's packs on, and calculate. So if you get down there and they say, hey, can you take Echo 5? You could pull over, put in a different runway length, and check it out. Of course we can. So 36, 36, 57, 59. 59, 136, 136, 157, and 59. And it's flaps 15 with the packs on. Flaps 15, packs on. We have a weather set, FSI panel weather. That's a canned weather package that you set on your preset that you download. And we are 10 Celsius with no visible moisture. So you check the flight plan. You walk it through. One guy has the flight plan in his hand. Other person walks through all the points. You check the prog. Right, that's all good. And of course you check the init page 2. Init page 3 is dump. And you takeoff page. And you put the pilot not monitoring on flight plan, pilot flying on takeoff. Now this is important. So here's your climb, here's your Excel. So we're going to do an NADP, a European climb profile. So that's 3,000. I believe that's 3,000 because we're minus 11. Transition altitude, by the way, is 3. Level off at 6. At 2, you contact departure, as I mentioned earlier. So that's 3,000 acceleration. So the climb thrust will go back at 1,500 and accelerate at 2989. If you wanted to change that to 1489, all you do is type that in. So if you're going out there and you're taking off with V2 with a 250 in the window, it'd be higher than that if the D clean was higher, but 250 in most cases. It's going to go V2. Oh, look at that. It's in the white, even though it's... See how this is in white, not magenta? That's really important that you get that there. Even though it's big here, let's do that. Okay, so it's going to go, it knows what's in the box for takeoff. When you're in toga, it's going to go V2 plus V2 all the way up to whatever you have in the box here, roughly 3,000. And then, if you're in profile, takeoff in profile, nav, autoflight, it knows it will start accelerating at that altitude and clean you up. So that's how we'll take off. We'll talk more about that in a little while. I want to talk about one other thing before we start engines and push back. These guys have modeled the air. You can see right now the air is 35, 32, 33, the air pressure, PSI. When you open that start valve for any particular engine, that'll drop down. You have to be above 25. They have that modeled. They have oil gulp modeled, which I love. So right now we're at 22 across the board. We'll get down around 16 or 17 after engine start. That's oil gulp. They have that modeled as well as the oil pressurized. So they've gone to great length, great detail. Really, really impressed with these guys. Okay, let's start the FSI panel profile. What I do is I click on that, say yes, please. Yes, please. Just thinking about it. When it comes up, you go, there it is, MD11 down here. Go set up. I've already set the profile. That's I'm not going to bother going through this whole thing with you. I've done it many of the videos. There we are, KLM. It says 1723, which we'll be 61 Alpha. Start training. It's loading the scenario pack. Click here. I'm going to go to the overhead. Turn on the seatbelt sign is on. And acknowledge 2345. We'll get the ATIS.
Transition level flight level 40. Acknowledge received Amsterdam departure information Delta on first. This is Amsterdam departure information Delta. Main departure runway 18 left. Main landing runway 18 right. Wind 210 degrees at 4 knots. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Cloud scattered 4,000 feet. Scattered 8,000 feet. Temperature 10. Dew point 6. QNH 1019er. Transition level flight level 40. Acknowledge received Amsterdam departure information Delta on first contact.
Fuel switches up there. Let's get rid of the ATIS. All right, so what did we learn in school? We learned that we're information Delta. We're at spot Delta 54 on the gate, and we have a 1019 is the altimeter. That's set 3 times. We have a transition altitude of 3,000. Let's look at the SID real quick before we do this. SID. And we are the QDAD. Make sure I got the correct one in here. I'm sorry, guys. Probably QDAD 2 Echo. QDAD 2 Echo. Pretty straightforward. We're going to always start at the upper right. Transition altitude's 3, so our first flight level is 4. Execute takeoff immediately after receiving the clearance. They don't want us dilly-dallying. Remain on tower freak until passing 2,000, then contact Schiphol. Departure, pardon me for my pronunciation. And then we're going 250 below 10, 6,000, flight level 60, and we'll be in nav. Taxi out. Let's take a look at that. We are at, right there, gate Delta 54. We'll probably go Alpha 9 Bravo all the way down Alpha 6. There's a whole short way down here. If they tell us to do Echo 5, we know we can take it if they ask us to do it, which they did on my last couple of flights in here with the other airplanes. Okay, let's get started. And by the way, you can set your takeoff trim, although you do that normally after you get your final numbers, but match up on the stab trim with whatever's on your takeoff page. Once again, you'd update that after you get your final numbers. Let's go to clearance, 2198. Schiphol clearance, this is KLM 61 Alpha, gate Delta 54 information Delta. Request clearance to Brussels.
KLM 6105 delivery hello. You're clear to Brussels house 5, runway 18 and left, QDAD 2 Echo departure, squawk 1246.
Turn it on, swing it over. KLM 61 Alpha, cleared to Brussels as filed, runway 18 left, QDAD 2 Echo, departure, squawk 1246.
KLM 61 Alpha readback is correct. When ready for push, contact ground 121.805. Have a nice day.
When ready, 218805, you too. KLM 61 Alpha. All right, 121.805, and I like to set up the tower frequency. FSI panel will do these freaks automatically for you, by the way. Tower freaks 1923, 19230. Once again, I'm using my panels at home because I have that SPAD next, which I cannot tell you how excited I am about that. You guys probably knew this all along. I'm transferring the wrong radio there, aren't I? All right, let's go to the overhead. We're going to go, beacon is on. Well, it's not on yet, is it? Because we haven't run the checklist yet and got permission. All right, before starting is FMS, MCU, the IRSs. Again, these run need to know. Hydraulic panels checked. Fuel panel, emergency light switch arm, no smoking, fire warnings, evac switch, AFS panel, windshield anti-ice, defog, glare shield control panel, system display control panel, EIS and bugs, standby flight, gear handle, brakes, pressures, flap pipe, brake up our throttles. First time just going through these. You guys just saw me do this, so you know everything is set, but it does help. We got TARA and radars on. Transponders on. Seatbelts on. Status page is checked. Aux pump beacon will get more clear to push. There we go. Shutdown ground. KLM 61 Alpha, Delta 54 to push back start engines.
KLM 61 Alpha, ground NO, push and start approved, facing east.
Push and start approved, facing east, KLM 61 Alpha. Alright guys, so let's go to the overhead. And we're supposed to get the beacons on before we move, right? And we'll wait on that. And aux pump, we can get that. Turn the aux pump on. We'll get the ignition in just a minute. Let's go ahead. GSX back up and running. Wake
This
these guys
parking
back
is
up.
too small for your aircraft.
Continue to push back. Nose right.
Release parking brakes, please. Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
And here we go. We're pushing back. Let's go back inside. We'll get it started. Turn on the ignition. Turns off the packs. What I liked, remember we talked about the air. You can hear the tug running out there. When I open the start valve, see how it's 35 on number 3? Open the start valve. And see how it drops down. It's going to be above 25 for get a start. Pretty cool. And we do not want to bring up the start lever. It's going to be above 15, but until you are above, we get some oil pressure rise. The area above 15. Let's go outside and listen to it. Gotta love it. There's 45% right there. Start valve will close. There it goes. And we're going to look for 20, 400, 60, and 80 oil. See the oil gulp is modeled. The other's still in the 20s. This oil has come down to 15. 2, 4, 6, 8 the oil plus 1200 on the fuel flow. 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. That's the technique on these GF6-80s. Start valves open. We check for a minimum of 25 after we open it. And we have 28. Go back to engine.
Please set parking brakes. Waiting
Above
your confirmation
15.
for a good engine
Oh,
start.
we have oil pressure. Bring up the fuel switch. There's the ignition is going. Let's let this guy go.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Want to listen to number 1? Next we'll listen to 2. Back inside. Start valves closed. 2, 4, 6, 8 the oil. 1200 on the fuel flow. Starting number 2.
Unlocking gear.
Let's go outside. Alright, let's bring the fuel lever up. Yeah, there we go. 2s, 4s, 6, oil's eaten, and that's how we do it. And we look for around 1200
track
on the
disconnected.
fuel flow. If you're
Bypass pin
at
removed.
sea level. If you were at 8,000 feet like in Bogota, that'd be
is
up there
clear.
at
Right
17
is
or
clear.
1800. Alright, next thing we're going to do is start valve should close at 45%. Start valve close. You don't want to lower the flaps till they're clear of the airplane. Wait for everything to stabilize. Alright, after start's good. Overhead. APU, turn that off. That'll turn off the APU in just a second automatically. If you wanted to, you could click here. But if you started up here, you'd have to override it up there. Alright, so let's go outside. We'll go flaps 15. There we go, it's coming down to 15. And we'll get a salute from this person out here. Meanwhile, we'll go to config. All right, there they are. Yeah, all right, well. Got you, my friend. There they go. All right, check the flight controls. Here come the rudder. Usually the captain holds onto the nose wheel steering and checks for full deflection. Get the green. FO. Asks, make sure your knees and your nuts are clear. Oh, that's not nice. And gently brings the spoilers and ailerons in the elevators. Stop to stop. Take about 6 seconds. Stop to stop so you don't bang them around. We're going to go decrease. Checklist. Start procedures right there. After start, engine ice, APU bleed, configure stab trim, flight control 6, stab pinch up, takeoff phase, we set that. And you can do before takeoff if you want. GCP is set, we talked about that. And we'll do the rest as we taxi out. We're on ground. Schiphol ground, this is KLM 61 Alpha off Delta 54 taxi with Delta.
KLM 61 Alpha taxi Alpha 9 Bravo, all short of Alpha 12.
Alpha 9 Bravo, hold short Alpha 12, KLM 61 Alpha. All right, so let's go back to the overhead, turn on the taxi lights, come back inside, clear right, clear left, and tell them I have a salute. And here we go, parking brakes are off. How do you know? Just do this, and we go. We have the spoilers armed, takeoff's armed. We got a green box. That means stab trim's also in the green. Let's go. 40% brake off way power. If you maximum, if you needed more, you'd have to make sure it was clear behind you with ramp or ground, whoever you're working with, so you don't blow over any baggage carts, individuals, or smaller aircraft. I'm not going to arm any of the takeoff things until we get on the runway, just for habit pattern reasons. I think this thing taxied great, guys. If you're above 10 knots, it's a little bit tough. Sometimes you need brakes. We'll heat up the brakes on you, but I think the taxi's great. I don't think it's slippery or anything like that. All right, clear left. Usually wait till it gets down to the bottom corner of the line. Start bringing around. Once again, if you're 10 knots or below, usually works pretty good. If you need a little inside brake, that's what you need. But that will heat the brakes up in a hurry. All right, weights, winds, and temperatures. We checked the weights versus planned. We might have to adjust the takeoff data. If we're doing a maximum or above, we'll need new numbers. But if we're doing a flex takeoff, as long as we're within no more than 3,000 pounds above planned takeoff weight, we're good to go. Winds, you need a headwind. If it's a tailwind, you can take up to 10 knots on this airplane, and you just have to subtract off the GPS for every knot. It might be like 1,300 pounds, so 10 knots be 13,000 off the runway limited. And temperature, if it's a flex, which is today, we're doing a 59 with a 98.5 on the N1. No problem, you just got to be below 59, we're at 10. But if it's a max, if you're above whatever's on the TPS, let's say it was 10. If you're at 11, you need new numbers. Weights, winds, and temperatures checked. Flight attendants prepare for takeoff. Do that in no less than 10 minutes. He said hold short to Alpha 12, which is right here. We will hold short.
KLM 61 Alpha, are you able to depart from Echo 5?
All right, so press 1 if you can. Affirm, we can take Echo 5, KLM 61 Alpha. That's
Roger, KLM 61 Alpha, taxi Echo 5, hold short of runway 18 left, and contact tower 119er, decimal 230. Have a nice day.
KLM 61 Alpha, Echo 5, hold short 18 left tower, 1923, see ya. All right, so let's go here, 1923, and we'll set departure, which is 19055. 19055. I don't like to taxi and do this stuff. Just not that good, man. Just not that good. 055. Come on, Captain. Okay, here we go. Taxi on up. Echo 5's up here, guys, and we can take it. Remember, we if not, we could have gone to the EFB and just adjusted the runway length from Echo 5. Once again, I am not arming autoflight yet, or anything that we're going to use, because if you had trouble moving and you had to go above 70%, it goes toga. You are in a world of hurt out here. We actually had an Airbus go off, A300 go off the runway in St. Thomas. So American Airlines policy became do not arm it. And tower, this is KLM 61 Alpha. We're holding short at Echo 5.
KLM 61 Alpha Tower, hello, runway 18 left, intersection Echo 5, line up await.
Line up await, 18 left, intersection Echo 5, KLM 61 Alpha. Line up and wait. Let's go to the overhead. I'm going to turn the runway turn off on. I'm going to go ahead and chime them. Looks good. Line up and wait. So once again, I'm not doing anything. I can turn on nav now and profile. I'm just not arming that autoflight till I am on that runway. And final is clear. Want to know where your nose gear is? It's right where the speed tape is. That's your nose gear right there. Captain Marvel can get it going straight. Alright, green box. Takeoff. Right checklist. Before takeoff. EAD, PAD, clear for takeoff. High intensity. Okay, here we go. We're good.
KLM 61 Alpha, wind calm, runway 18 left, cleared for takeoff, passing 2,000 feet, contact departure, 119.055.
KLM 61 Alpha, clear for takeoff, 18 left, passing 2,000, contact departure, 119.055. Alright, here we go. Now I feel comfortable arming the autoflight. Going to bring it up to 70%. There's going straight. Once it gets up above 70, right there, it should continue up to 98.5. There it goes. And once it's at 98.5, we say thrust set. Went up a little high, it's coming back. 80 knots, takeoff clamp. Airplane crossing the runway. Not good. V1 rotate. Right up to about 20 degrees. 3 degree per second rotation rate. Going to get the autopilot on pretty early here, guys. Positive brake gear up. Here we go. We're in nav, and autoflight's coming on. And the reason is I'm going to have to do a lot of stuff here. So I've got a profile, right? So it's going to do V2 until 3,000, and then accelerate. Because and here we go. There we go. And we're out of 2,000. Showpole departure, KLM 61 Alpha is out of 22,500 for flight level 60.
KLM 61 Alpha, departure hello, identified, continue climb, flight level 80.
Continue climb to 80, hello, KLM 61 Alpha. Flight level 80, guys, I went standard out of 3. We can go flaps up. You see the profile, load the nose. 80 is set. 80 is in the window. Slats retract. It's going to do 220 until this point right here. It does 220. I never mentioned that. But see, that's all done in profile, even though we had 250 in here. We can come up here. We can disarm the auto brakes. spoilers. All right, there's that point, and now with the speed, it's going to go up to 250. Right there. There it goes, 250, slats retract. All right, I'm takeoff climb checklist. Takeoff, gear flaps up, EAD is good. All right. If you want to go to status page, you can. You're really only required to check EAD for messages.
KLM 61 Alpha, contact Amsterdam, 125.75. Have a safe flight.
KLM 61 Alpha, Amsterdam, 2575. 12575. Amsterdam, KLM 61 Alpha level and flight level 80.
KLM 61 Alpha identified. Climb flight level 130, final to there for you and proceed direct to Woody.
Climb to flight level 130 and direct to Woody, KLM 61 Alpha. Make sure it's going. 13 is in there and it's selected, and direct to Woody. Direct to Woody. Woody. And there we go. We would have confirmed how it looked. All right, so we got standard set. Have takeoff climb checklist is complete. It's going to be kind of a quick little arrival here. Approach. Flight. Brussels. ILS 5 less. Zulu. I think I better put that in on the box here. After Woody, Star, Woody, ILS 25 left, Zulu. That's not the ILS, is it, guys? Woody, Star, Zulu. I want to try to see something here. I want to see if the Yankee looks any different. It's leveling. Naturally, the other guy be flying. All right, sorry you had to see that. All right, that's good enough for now. Here we go. 12 to 13. Let's go to ATIS. Remember, it's always 2345.
LS approach. Departure runway 25 right. Wind 220 degrees at 5 knots. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Clouds scattered 4,000 feet. Scattered 8,000. This is Brussels Information Mike. Landing runway 25 left. ILS approach. Departure runway 25 right. Wind 220 degrees at 5 knots. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Clouds scattered 4,000 feet. Scattered 8,000 feet. Temperature 10. Dew point 8. QNH 1019er. Transition level flight level 50. Acknowledge received. Brussels Information Mike on first contact.
I love that stuff. Don't you? So Mike. All right, so that's
This
information
is Brussels
Mike.
Information Mike. Landing runway 25 left. ILS approach. Departure runway left. ILS approach. Departure runway 25 right. Wind 220 degrees at 5 knots.
Get rid of that. So 2575, and then we're going to go to 18255. I want to get that set up. 18255 in VHF1. 18255, 18255. Okay, so let's look at the arrival. We got the Star. Pretty straightforward. Woody. Here we are, coming in. Just Woody with no altitudes. Oh, Kirky above 8. Woody Kirky above 8, and that's in there. And then we're going to go to for the ILS 25 left.
KLM 61 Alpha, contact Brussels arrival 118.255.
118.255 at KLM 61 Alpha. All right, back down here. 118.255, and that means arrival 18605 is our next frequency. Naturally, we wouldn't do this normally, but 605, okay. Brussels arrival KLM 61 Alpha, information Mike at flight level 130.
KLM 61 Alpha, Brussels arrival, hello, would descend, flight level 110, proceeded direct to Bruno VOR, this is Bravo Uniform November, and you are number 1 for the ILS 25 left.
Send to flight level 110, direct to Bruno VOR, Bravo Uniform November, KLM 61 Alpha. All right, guys, I'm going to do level change. I'm going to go to the box, direct, Bravo Uniform November. That's it. Bravo Uniform November. I think that's an IAF for this runway. Approach. ILS 25 left. Yeah, Bravo Uniform November, then Ginnu. So we can take out all these points. Let me see that one here. That's not the right one. Ginku. 25 left Yankee, must be Zulu.
Altitude.
Flight plan.
Liner, Bidavar by Bruno VOR.
Sent to 4,000 level by Bruno. KLM 61 Alpha. All right, guys, we got to do this. Somehow, this has come out of nav mode here. Not really sure why. Doesn't matter. I'm going to do it. Sure, it's something I did. Oh wow, that was, I made that one look tough, didn't I? And then 4,000.
Altitude.
Then we want to be 250 below 10. Woo! That wasn't easy. All right, so somehow that dumped it. I'm sure it's something I did wrong. Direct to BUN, which we were already doing. BUN. Looks good. Good. Ginku. Ginku. Star. ILS Yankee. Ginku. Kind of messed up here. Ginku LF25, so Ginku LF25. All right, let's go down here. Take these out. Not the best representation. And there it is. Now it matches what's on there. Definitely could have done that better. All right, we're 250 below 10. And with the center, we got to be level. BUM, we got to get to nav. Not the most impressive job here, guys. And here we go. Not good, not good. All right, so 250 below 10. Here we go. Flight attendants prepare for landing. Lights are back on. Turn-offs are on, and they're chimed. Not the most impressive showing here. All right, so go direct Ginku, nav, it's all set, 10 dive, 245, 249, 110.35, 249, going down to 200 on the DH. 200 is set on the radio altimeter. Going to be level at 4 by Ginku. Yeah, 10 miles. We've got to get a little speed brakes, get us down a little faster.
Altitude. Altitude.
And if you want to see where the flight path is, right, you could go 4,000. And we're pretty close. Speed brakes should be coming out. And it's one of those simisms where you have to use your at-home throttles back. But we'll get down there. ILS 25 left to Brussels. Giknu. That's why that's messed up. Aren't we doing well? Aren't we doing well? It's always an adventure with Father Time. Here we are. We're out of 5, so we can set the altimeters. So local altimeter 1019. By the way, our bug is going to be flaps 35, 151 after landing.
KLM 61 Alpha, fly heading 150, descend 3,000 feet and reduce speed to 20 knots orders.
Okay, descend to 3,000 feet, 220 knots, right to 150 for KLM 61 Alpha. Heading 150, slow to 220. Gonna need a little flaps, slats to do that. 200 knots, 150, 3,000 feet. Here we go. 220, 3,000. And I'm going to go flaps 15. Track speed brake. All right, 220, 150, 3,000 feet. Going down nicely. And we got flaps 15, and it's approach speed 151 after landing. Didn't like that, did it? Taxi. We're supposed to go to gate 237.
KLM 61 Alpha, turn right, heading 210, intercept, localizer 25 left, stand by for approach guns.
Right to 210. Intercept 25 left. We'll stand by for approach clearance. KLM 61 Alpha. All right, 210. We got the Giknu is magenta, so that's good. If you want to repeat a clearance, you can. All I can do is come up here. here.
KLM 61 Alpha, turn right, heading 210, intercept, localizer 25 left, stand by for approach guns.
All right, so 210. There it is. 220, 3000, stand by, intercept the localizer, land is armed, but we're not cleared for the approach yet. Should be coming off the wall here shortly. There it comes, low capture. After
KLM
landing.
61 Alpha, descend at 2,000 feet and you are cleared ILS 25 left, minimum speed 160 knots to 4 miles.
Send to 2,000, 160 knots to 4 miles, and cleared the ILS 25 left for KLM 61 Alpha. Man, this is sensitive. All right, guys, we can start bringing the speed back. I'm going to go ahead and get gear. I can go flaps 22. Get the speed back here. I'll start bringing it all the way back to 160. Minimum till 4 miles. All right, got low idle. We're going down to 2,000. A little bit fast here. Gear down.
2500.
Still getting used to the new arrow here. A little bit fast. That's because I went to flaps 28. Flaps 35 will be 190.
KLM 61 Alpha, contact tower 118.605.
118.605 KLM 61 Alpha. All right, there's tower freak. Ground is 2188. Preset that. And tower KLM 61 Alpha for ILS 25 left.
KLM 61 Alpha Tower Hello, you are number 2. Speed 160 knots to 4 miles. Expect to hit landing pins.
160 to 4 miles. We'll expect clearance for KLM 61 Alpha. All right, guys, we can go flaps 35 because we're below 190. Missed approach altitude is 4,000, and they got to put that in the window. We're on glide slope, so I can put it in the window. .4,000 runway heading is set. We got to wait till 4 miles. We're at 5.2, so we can slow down. Once again, after landing, we're landing 25 left. Right-hand turn, we're going to go in this area, right up in here. Okay. Let's go FMS speed. We're at 4 miles. Let it slow down, and we can preset the approach airspeed. So altitude, airspeed, everything's set before landing checklist. It's going to arm the spoilers.
KLM 61 Alpha, wind is calm, runway 25 left, clear to land and vacate right via Charlie 4.
Clear to land, 25 left, KLM 61 Alpha. Clear to land, 25 left, KLM 61 Alpha. Why are we getting a config light? Clear to land, guys. Config, gear, flaps, green box. All right, well, it's good to me. And we talked about after landing. We're going to clear and taxi over here and go in right about on the end here on this gate. Right about in there. All right, autopilot's coming off. Airplane's performing well, guys. Any problems there have been because of me. I'm looking right through the flight director. Trying to fly around 4.5, 5 degrees with flaps 35. Flaps 50 be more like 2.5 or 3. Red over white on the VAS. He's transitioning to land.
Approaching minimum.
Inside, outside. A little bit of a left cross. A little left aileron, right rudder. Getting a little low, 4 to 5 degrees.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
All right, not my worst. Low the nose, reverse levers. Is 80 knots. Better reverse noises. Coming out of reverse. All right. Let's echo. What is this one? Kilo 4.
Kilo Delta 61 Alpha, cross runway 01 about ya, Charlie 4, and on the other side, ground 121 decimal 880, bye-bye.
Okay, cross 01 at Charlie 4. On the other side, ground 2188. Flaps up after landing. Flaps coming up. Spoilers coming up. This is Charlie 4, and we're cleared to cross. Lights coming off. Yeah, airplane did good. Yeah, any of the spastic stuff was me. Intensities, no, we never get that on. Never get that on. And we're cleared to cross. And the gate should be right over there on the right. And I'm going to go ahead and start the APU. Go to ground. And ground KLM 61 Alpha, just crossed runway 1, going to gate 237.
KLM 61 Alpha, ground, hello, taxi Echo 3, inner 9, Tango, and your gate is 237, 237. Have a good day.
Okay, Echo 3, inner 9, gate 237 for KLM 61 Alpha. All right, guys, 237. It's right on the end, and I'm sorry, but I think someone is on that gate. That is 237, right on the end there. I'm going to stop here. Yeah, someone is at that gate. We're not worried about that. Got fighters everywhere. Alright, let's just go find the gate in here. This is 237 right there. Jeepers creepers.
Hi guys, JP, welcome to Brussels. I hope you liked this very short flight, and there is a new feature on FSI Panel 2020 Advanced Edition. On this scenario particularly, you might get up to 3 different approaches. So if you try again the same scenario, you might get another type of approach. So it is random, and there is up to 3 approaches on this scenario. Thank you for flying. Any comments? I'm very happy to get your comments on the Discord channel. Thank you guys, and see you next time for another scenario. Bye-bye.
All right. We'll go in here, guys. Yeah, airplane did great. Any issues were, of course, mine. We are not at 237 because every other gate was occupied, including 237. Sure, this is too small for our aircraft. Brakes park. Overhead. Seatbelt sign is off. APU's established. Chop them. Checklist. Beacons. Beacons are off. Get that off now. Off. Well, they were on. We did do okay. Seatbelt signs off. We get that off. We're going to turn off the anti-ice. Anti-ice. Turn off the cargo temps. These temps. Turn off the RUs. We'll get the air going. Go TSX.
This parking is too small for your aircraft.
I
The boarding
know.
requested.
Here comes the jet bridge. All right, let's go to checklist. Clear the runway, taxi lights, flap slats, spoiler handle, stab trim. We got all that. Oh, stab trim we want to set for 3. There's a little marker on the tail, a 3-degree marker. There's a 0-degree marker and a 3-degree marker on the tail. And so when you go to the outside, you want to make sure it's on there. So you always want to set 3. If it's not, usually the FO has forgotten to set the stab trim to 0 for the previous flight. Clear the runway, spoiler handle, weather radars off, APUs started, brakes parked, seatbelt signs off, external power, fuel switch, cargo temp, anti-ice, engine ignition is off, exterior lights are off, emergency light switch off, emergency light switch off, emergency light switch off. That should have been on even though the cover was on. That's a write-up. Okay, let's go over here on the EFB. Let's get services. We get GPU connected. We'll set the wheel chocks, therefore we can remove the brakes. We'll come back up here to the overhead. It's nice and fine out there. Let's just kill everything. Turn on the external power. Turn off the APU. APU air is off. APU shutting down. Turn off the lights. And then we'll see how we did on our landing, because JP gives you a landing grade. All right, landing report. Good, satisfactory, positive landing. Touchdown 2. I thought I did better than that. But probably not. And deviation percent satisfactory, landing distance good, positive landing, bank and touchdown good. Yeah, I thought I did a little better than that, but hey, we'll kill that, kill this, go outside. Say thank you. That was beta revision 5901, 5902. Doing great, guys. Everything is going great. Sorry for anything I did wrong to the developers, but you guys are a great product. The level of scrutinization by the CE1000 quality assurance team developers is unprecedented. It's just amazing what they're doing. I can't even keep up. I can't notice that much, so that's interesting. Yeah. All right, guys. That one's good. All right, guys. It's Father Time. Jeff Rich is out. Remember, don't share this outside of our CE1000. Thanks for putting up with all my silliness. See ya.